I just read about the little controversy over your comment about Lena Dunham. So I wanted you to maybe talk about that first, what you meant by it when you said it, and whether you're surprised that people still don't quite get your sense of humor.
Oh, I'm never surprised that people don't get it. Because you know what? If you're not familiar with my comedy, you don't know I've been doing it this way for how many years now? I mean, it's over 20. So, if you're just a random person on Twitter seeing something, you might go, oh, my God, that's racist. But if people know me and my comedy, they get it, then that's fine. If they don't get it, it's really, to be honest, I know this is evil, but it's so funny to watch people really mad. Like, your day is invested in being angry. I'm seeing people's head explode all over the world, and with just one little push of a button, people lose their freaking mind. It's almost kind of funny.
So you like being the one who pushes the envelope a little bit?
I mean, I have been my whole life. I can't help it. I'm a lightning rod. I get it. If I could be a different way, I probably would. Like if I could be Charlotte from Sex and the City, who ruffles no feathers, if I could be Grace Kelly, if I could be Audrey Hepburn, yes, I would be those women. Yes, that's a lot of an easier lifestyle. Although, Grace Kelly did get killed in a car accident. Okay, that was bad.
Not such a good lifestyle, right?
That kind of stuck towards the end. But, yeah, I mean, would we all choose to be outspoken, crazy, envelope pushers, people who have no line that they won't cross? I probably wouldn't pick that as the first thing, but hey, it's kind of fun and a bit lucrative, thank God.
But the idea, though, pushing your comedy is that insults are not the whole point of it. You're not just trying to insult people. You've got a larger point you're trying to make by using this kind of language.
The whole thing is anytime you use language without any hate behind it and with making a joke about it, hopefully takes the meaning out of the word. I mean, I'm certainly not the only one to do this. There've been people who did it way before, like Rickles and Howard Stern and Lenny Bruce and people like that. I may not be in their league, but I'll tell you what, if the message is the same, then the message is the same. And people, either you get it or you don't. It's very polarizing. I get it. But as long as I, impress enough people with comedy to sell tickets and maintain, a certain lifestyle, then I guess I'm okay.
Right, because it seems like when you're compared to people, it's usually compared to male comics or male performers who've done something similar. But are there any women that you sort of admired in this sort of vein, or that came before you? Or
that's a really good point. I never noticed until now that people never compare me to women comics. I like that. I think it's probably the girth of my penis. But probably the biggest thing is because I do comedy like a guy. I've never been a wilting flower, and, I always get compared to guys. But women, there's obviously a few women out there right now who are doing awesome things like, Whitney Cummings, Amy Schumer, Joan Rivers is a national treasure. She's a legend. So there are women comics out there who are great. But, yeah, I'm more like a dude comic when it comes to think about it.
Maybe that'll be the headline, the dude comic now.
Oh, I like that. I like it.
And it seems to me that, the world has sort of gotten more sort of crass in certain ways, like everything you see on the Internet, everybody's business is out there. But then at the same time, there's sort of the sensitivity police are also equally there. So I'm curious how that translates for like a live audience. When, do you think audiences have changed? Or what shocks them different now than it used to be? Or what do you find out there?
My comedy is just attracting my audience. So basically, if you come to see me, you pay a certain ticket price. It's not a comedy club price because I play theaters. So basically, you go, I'm not going to go see someone I'm not familiar with. You go, oh, my God, I know what she does and I love it. So I never get any crap in the theater itself. Online, yes, people don't know who you are and they kind of are too sensitive or not sensitive enough sometimes, so you deal with it in like sort of social media context. But as far as when shows are happening, it hasn't affected me in the least. People on the outside of that show can be as sensitive as they want, but in that showroom, like, all bets are off.
And anything goes then?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I can't even think of a subject that isn't funny, potentially.
Right. And do you plan out your act ahead of time, or are you more spontaneous in the moment?
Well, since I'm an insult comic, I do a lot of, stuff with the crowd, so that can't really be planned. But, you know, I have certain bits, like I talk now a lot about The Celebrity Apprentice because that was so bizarre. I talk a lot about the people on there, about, you know, my recent weight loss surgery and my husband's, and, you know, a lot about the food issues and the weight and the, you know, different guys and all that. So some of it are bits that are kind of, you know, I know in advance. But for the most part, the show doesn't have an exact order. It kind of depends a lot on the audience interaction. So it's fresher for me, too. I have more fun with it that way.
And I'm glad you brought up Celebrity Apprentice. So I think last time we interviewed you, you were still doing the show, so we didn't know the outcome. So what's your take on the experience now that it's, you know, been in the past?
Well, I mean, it was such hard work. It was the hardest thing in the world. I probably told you it was, you know, we pulled all-nighters. We're getting up at 4 for hair and makeup the nights we aren't pulling all-nighters. I mean, it was every day of the week except one. So basically it was like the hardest thing ever, and I'm happy because I stayed on so long. I mean, I was pretty unknown compared to the rest of that cast. So it was like, wow, made it to the final 4 out of all these people who are super famous. And obviously some of them were really smart, like Penn Jillette and people like that. So I was happy. I was happy with the money, $130,000 to the gay men's health crisis, which is not the main reason I went on the show. You always go on these shows to get more famous. You kind of play it off and they say, oh, it's for charity. Yeah, right. That's the secondary part. But, I mean, that was a pretty decent outcome for those guys.
And did you get more famous? People recognize you now who maybe wouldn't have before? Or?
What's hilarious is definitely, but then I went and I got the weight loss surgery, and I was getting recognized night and day. It was so cool. Like I was going around the city, and everybody was like, "Oh my God, I saw you on The Apprentice," and it was so flattering. Then I lost all the weight, and nobody recognizes me anymore, so I don't even get free dessert. It's horrible.
And the surgery, was that something you planned for a long time, or is it something that why did you decide to do it now?
Well, 32 years from ages 18 to 50, I'd done every single diet, and my whole Broadway show that I'm doing is based on it. And it's just like, I cannot believe that in 32 years of struggling with this, I cannot seem to make anything work. So Jimmy, my husband, had randomly met a guy from the Real Housewives of Jersey that had a lap band, and he had referred us to his doctor. And we met with the doctor, and the doctor literally said, how many 70-year-olds do you guys know who weigh what you do? And it's like, oh, my God, we're 51 at this point. We're not going to even have 19 years left if we don't get it together, because 100 pounds overweight is a lot. I mean, that's a lot of weight. So we just said, you know what, screw being scared. Let's just tell the truth about everything. Let's just do it, and hopefully it'll work out and we'll not gain it back. Now that's the job, is not gaining it back.
And did you take off 100 pounds with it? Is that what happened?
I 105.6. I'm very specific about it because, yeah, Jimmy lost 88, and he had it 2 months after I did.
And so is this going to affect the title of your show? Because it's called Bring Back the Fat Chick, right? Is that still?
Yeah, that actually was a miss. I don't know how that got out there, but that was just the name of a story from the show. But it was like a little reading I did. But no, we're toying around with the idea of calling it Skinny Bitch because people know how I got skinny now, but they don't know why I became a bitch. So I think it's an interesting title for the show. I joked with somebody I was going to call it Lisa Lampanelli Isn't a Fat C Anymore, but it wouldn't fit on the marquee.
And now, what's the status of the show? Because I thought it was going to be maybe something you were going to do last year, but it seems like it's now on tap for this year. Or so what's the schedule?
Well, yeah, what happened was I lost all the weight, and then the show was not resonating as much as it should have been as it was written. Like, it was really written from the fat perspective, and now it had to be definitely rewritten fully to show what I learned from this and to really address this and talk about it from the heart. So I'm doing readings of it in March in New York City, just off Broadway, just for practice and to see if it resonates with the weight loss. And, then we'll talk about moving forward. But I would hope, I know Broadway shows take 6 years to get on stage on average. And I'm like, damn, it better only take 3 because I'm losing my patience for this.
So this year is a possibility? You think maybe not till next year?
I thought maybe fall. But it's always better to release in the spring because of the Tonys. But, my feeling is when it gets out there I'm not putting it out there till it's right, because it just did not resonate anymore with a thinner body. There was something about it that wasn't hitting me right even. So the rewrites, though, are going great. I'm doing work on it tonight with the director. I can't wait. Isn't it weird, like, to actually look forward to some parts of your job? It's really nice.
Yeah, it sounds good. And do you find it a lot different to try and write a show like this than when you're thinking about your act? Is sort of a different muscle you're using with your writing, or different kind of approach to it? Or
yeah, because it's so truthful. Like, we had to dig really, really deep, because, I mean, the whole show's been, like, trying to figure out, why did this happen? Like, why did I start using food like people use drugs or alcohol? I don't get it. And I still don't have 100% of the answers, and I don't think anyone ever does. It's not like this big revelation and you uncover a memory and, oh, my God. But I think you go, the whole writing process has been really digging deep to find that out, and to find out what went wrong when you're a certain age and things get out of control, and why do you gravitate towards food or men or anything else. So it's been really interesting, and it is totally different than stand-up. That's what's great about it. It's still a funny show, but you don't write it like you write stand-up. There's a lot more heart in it, and a lot more, really deeper stuff to make funny.
And it's just not trying to get the punchline as quickly. There's a punchline, but you can work towards it, I guess, more so.
Exactly. Oh, my God, that's exactly the way to put it, because, yeah, you'll get there eventually. There'll be a laugh every maybe 30 seconds instead of every 6 seconds like with stand-up. But, it's you're right. It just takes a little while to get there, but it'll be worth it.
Now, I was interested to read that you actually came up with your career. Originally, you were a journalist and worked for these big magazines. So
yes.
Do you, carefully read articles about you and mark them up with a red pen or anything, or look for, factual errors?
I actually am really hard on those things, because I used to interview celebrities all the time. And, I would tape record anything and transcribe it meticulously and not misquote anybody. And I was a chief of research for Spy and a fact checker at Rolling Stone. So I was like, we have to make sure this is completely accurate. So, I'm pretty hardcore with that.
Okay, I'll be extra careful with this one then.
There you go. And I'm very good with commas. Like, people don't understand the comma. I certainly do.
All right. Well, now I'm really feeling the pressure, Lisa. But you didn't want to be a journalist after a while. You decided that just wasn't doing it for you.
Yeah, you just feel you need a switch. Just like with stand-up, I needed to work on the Broadway show, because you just feel like you need something else and you're bored for a minute. So yeah, I just think it happens. People switch careers so much now. I heard back when my parents were in the workforce that people usually switch jobs maybe twice in their life, and now it's people switch careers, I think, 3 times. So, it's just sometimes you just go, well, that ship has sailed. Now let me do something else that actually interests me more. And
early in your career, you were sort of your own publicist too, right? You helped to sort of invent the whole Queen of Mean thing. That was something you kind of sort of worked into an article or something. And
yeah. I was playing this place in Jersey called Rascals, and this New York Times interviewer was there, and I was totally not known in the least. And he was interviewing me. I'm like, so yeah. He goes, what do you do? I go, they call me comedy's lovable Queen of Mean. And I was like, then I could get to say the Chimes said it, So you kind of manipulate it the way you can.
Right. Well, it worked.
Yeah, right.
So that's everything on my list of questions. Anything else you wanted to mention before we go? Anything else happening you want to plug, or anything else,
Oh, no, that's great. I'm thrilled that we got to talk. I loved your questions.
Well, good to talk to you too, Lisa. Thanks so much.
Of course. Have a good day, hon.
Take care. Bye-bye.